This is a guy, Parsons, who's had 1 sack in 4 postseason games, whose team couldn't stop anybody with games on the line. Green Bay, San Francisco. Furthermore, Clark's a good player. He's a 3-time Pro Bowler, and I love what he said when he went to Dallas over the weekend. I'm going to give this organization everything I have. Plus, you're paying a linebacker $45 million? What? You're paying a linebacker $45 million and who may not even be able to play Sunday because he's got a bad back? Paying him $45 million, and they got the 2 picks. Listen, I don't like to support Jerry. He probably should have done this in May, open it up to other teams. But the idea that somehow Jerry Jones, and remember, the Cowboys traded Herschel Walker, everybody couldn't stand that, turned out to be the foundation of them winning championships. I don't have a major problem with it. Listen, Lawrence Taylor was on a team once, and nobody's better than him. That was 3-12-1. You need the quarterback, and he is not going to throw the ball, catch touchdowns, or run for touchdowns. Dallas getting too much abuse.
Well, I think you're wrong. No surprise there. The fact of the matter is that when you think about his age, that's what we have to take into consideration. He's 26 years of age. He's got his whole career ahead of him. He's considered one of the elite defensive players in the game. And what you're missing, Doggy, as usual, is that the process that took place. Now, I'm not going to get into all the stuff that I've gotten into over the last couple of weeks. What I will say is that if you were going to do this, you have to ask yourself from a business perspective, which is Jerry's lane, right? The Mr. $16 billion man, which the Mr. $13 billion franchise. That same Jerry Jones. Had you made this move in March, what would have happened? The floodgates would have opened up and you would have had a bevy of additional assets. These are basically tantamount to second-round picks. These are late first-round picks at best. We all know that Green Bay is a title contender. This ain't the NBA draft where you got ping pong balls to throw into the lottery and you can end up with the number 1 pick in Cooper Flagg like the Dallas Mavericks did after letting Luka Doncic walk out the door, okay? You can't do something like that in the National Football League. You have to understand what you're playing with. And for Jerry to be the extraordinary businessman that he is and not see the forest from the trees and let his pride get in the way because you were upset that this man told you, don't call me, call my agent, and you didn't want to deal with his agent, to let that get in the way of a deal is egregious enough. But then when you backtrack, if you're going to make the deal, make sure you get a boatload of assets for it. 2 for late first-round picks, tantamount to second-round picks, and Kenny Clark doesn't cut it. And oh, by the way, when you talk about Jerry, it's not like the man doesn't spend some money. Look at Dak Prescott. Look at CeeDee Lamb's contract. Dak Prescott, highest-paid quarterback in the NFL. CeeDee Lamb, the 3rd highest-paid wide receiver. DeRon Bland just signed his bid. It's the 5th highest-paid cornerback in the game. Jake Ferguson is the 7th highest-paid tight end in the game. And then you got 2 defensive tackles that are both getting paid over $20 million. So if you can pay those people, you could have figured out a way to either pay Micah Parsons or to make sure that if you didn't pay him, you got a boatload of additional assets for him. You did neither if you're Jerry Jones. And you traded him within a division, in all likelihood, to a team that's going to be in your way, if in a conference rather, if that's all likely a team that's going to be in your way if you get as far as they intend to get.
Couple things. One, you mentioned that Lawrence Taylor was on a team that was 3-12-1.
Yes, they were.
They didn't trade Lawrence Taylor. They didn't trade Lawrence Taylor, did they?
Point.
Okay, because they knew what they had right there, right? So you continue to build. Number 2, did Jerry want to sign Micah this offseason? Yeah, he thought he had a deal, right? So it's not like Jerry just came up with now some big giant plan where you can go, hey, you know what? I'm going to outsmart the league. I'm going to trade this guy, and I might turn it into 4 or 5 picks. And everyone's going to say, hey, look, what a smart move, Jerry. Way to not pay He wanted to pay him. He supposedly had a deal, right? He had struck a deal with him himself. The thing about it is, this wasn't about a great business move, because if it was going to be a great business move, as Stephen A. alluded to, he would have opened the bidding up back in March, April, and maybe got a true Herschel Walker type of haul for him, a serious haul. He didn't want to trade him. He just didn't want to do business the way Micah wanted to do business, which was with my agent, David Mulugeta, by my side, looking over the details and crossing the T's and dotting I's. That's what he didn't want, for whatever reason it is. As he said in that interview with Stephen A., you know, it was like there was no room for a third and all this other nonsense. It came down to, I'm going to do business the way I want to do. You know why? Because I answer to nobody. And I'm the only GM in the league who answers to nobody. You know why? Because I own the team. So for me, he's not getting too much flack because this whole thing is convoluted in the first place. You wanted to sign him. You know why you wanted to sign him? Because you had a transformational player on your team that you drafted. Okay, whether or not you have some issues with maybe the way he conducts himself, or you have some issues with his agent, the fact of the matter is you knew you had a transformational player in his prime. Just like the Giants knew that they had one with LT. And that's why they didn't trade him even when they stunk. They continue to build out around him. This is a bad move for them. Regardless of whether or not, look, they have some other guys on their roster right now. Dante Fowler Jr., Donovan Ezeraku, who they drafted from BC, Sam Williams. They have some guys who are going to try and pick up the slack. But you don't trade people like this. You just don't. And especially if you don't get what you're talking about, a absolute treasure trove being hoisted your way.
And by the way,
you don't do that.
And don't try to throw some history at us like you the only one that knows it. Lawrence Taylor came into the league in 81. That is true. All right? If you remember, the next year they only won 4 games. Ray Perkins was their coach. And the year they went 3-12-1, Bill Parcells was a rookie head coach.
Correct.
So again, there was changes in everything that was transpiring within the New York Giants. The very next year, they went to the divisional playoffs in Parcells' second year, and then all of a sudden their run began. So let's not forget that part, okay? As you
I made a point. They were 3-12-1, and no team was on a team.
But he's on a team. But you're, like Louis Riddick said, he wasn't traded because you knew how valuable he was. You can't look at one play and say, oh, it doesn't matter. What would the Giants have been without Lawrence Taylor? What would the Giants have been without Lawrence Taylor?
And what have the Cowboys been with Micah Parsons?
I can point to all bevy of stuff wrong with the Dallas Cowboys before you can get to Micah Parsons. Before you can get with the Micah Parsons.
He's been awful
against the run. Against the run.
Well, that's what he's supposed to do.
Excuse me. Never awful when it comes to getting to the quarterback. They has never been accused of that. And what was Lawrence Taylor's specialty? Well, as great as he was.
Well, he can do everything, but getting the QB.
What was it? Getting to the QB instilled fear in the opposition. Fright night having to deal with that man because you knew he was coming for your quarterback. That's Micah Parsons' specialty.
There is zero excuse for trading him. There's zero. You
pay a guy $47 million to be a linebacker, Lewis?
You wouldn't have had to pay him.
You wouldn't have had to pay him
$37, $40. It takes up a lot of your cap space.
You're right, it does. That's the price of doing
Max
business.
Crosby got 35.
Good players.
TJ Watt got 41.
Good players get paid.
Myles Garrett got 40.
And how have the Browns and the Raiders been paying these guys all this money? Have they been good?
They just paid them this offseason.
Well, they've been good football teams.
Okay.
Have they made the playoffs?
Is it their fault?
Hey, well.